There you are.
Okay. And welcome to Genesis. It is so great to be here. The Spirit of God feels like He is here in power. So welcome to Genesis. By now you probably know Genesis, the first book of the Bible. I don't know if you've ever heard the song Do Re Mi from the musical, The Sound of Music. It's been floating around my head, driving me crazy, so I thought, well, I would impart that to you all if I can. So it starts like this. Let's start at the very beginning. You know, a very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. When you sing, you begin with Do, Re, Mi. And I propose that we add another line. When you study the Bible, you begin with Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. What do you think? I cannot find anything to rhyme. We are making thunder. I couldn't find anything to rhyme with Leviticus, so I don't know how far that's going to go. But anyway, I do think that starting with the first book, starting with Genesis, really is a very good place to start. Genesis actually opens with this verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So He's taking us way back, and He's starting at the beginning and laying it all out. So those of you who are studying the Bible for the first time, you are coming in at a perfect time. And for those of you who have been around a while, you can do a little backfilling. Now, while I think Genesis is a very good place to start, there's been a certain amount of concern, I won't say whining, that this book just isn't relevant for the 21st century. After all, it's been pointed out, it was written in about the year 1400 BC. That means that it's been 3,400 years. Haven't a few things changed since that time? So that's one point. Secondly, don't we all know all the stories? Who doesn't know about Adam and Eve? They've even made bad movies about it. Who doesn't know about Noah and his homemade ark? We have been decorating our nurseries for generations with Noah and his ark. And hasn't everybody seen Donny Osmond imitating Joseph in that embarrassing coat he's wearing? So, why would we do this? I believe, however, notwithstanding all that Genesis still is one of the very most relevant books in the whole Bible for our time. I think one problem we have is how we imagine these stories as we're hearing them, as we're reading about them. I think we humans judge by appearances. So in our head, when we think of the Old Testament, we usually think of ancient-looking men, very unattractive, probably oversized noses, right, with the long beards, and they're usually wearing some animal skin, or Charlton Heston style, they're wearing something that would be better worn by a woman who shops at Chico's. So, this is what we have, and then they have these long, unkempt, tangled beards that you really get the impression if you got too close, you would see whole colonies of food or insects. So that's the men. As for the women, we don't even think much about them because we know they never let them out of their mud abodes. So who cares how they look? Anyway, I think we need to reprogram our brains. When we hear these stories, when we read them, I want you to see if you can't instead, for the men, think of a man who's wearing jeans. And maybe he's out of a Banana Republic or a J. Crew, isn't this better? A J. Crew shirt with the sleeves rolled up, 3/4 length. Make him clean shaven, or he might have a little bit of stubble, a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow if you like that. And it's perfectly okay if you think of him as, say, Brad Pitt, Patrick Dempsey, Matthew McConaughey, or for Pharaoh, I was thinking Simon Cowell. Okay. For the women might be easier. Just imagine them in some cute outfit with some fun jewelry. Definitely they need an oversized bag and pouring out of it, right? Our iPod, cell phone, lip gloss, makeup, coupons, everything that they bought at the last Creative Memories gathering. So we got our women. That's easy. Okay, now we're ready to hear the story. So keep this in mind. And I want to give you just a very few highlights, of course. They're only giving, Holly's limited my time up here, unfortunately. So first, let's look at Jacob. When we first see him, he and his scheming mom have tricked his aged father, who probably has something like macular degeneration. They tricked him into giving Jacob the inheritance that was supposed to go to his older brother. Now, his older brother is kind of a Terminator kind of guy, not happy with the situation. So when he finds out he's out for blood, this is how his mother puts it. This is from Genesis. I love this quote. Maybe you'll want to memorize this as one of your verses. Your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you. So, Jake apparently is a prudent young man because he decides to go as far away as he possibly can, as fast as he can, and he looks up some distant relatives. Well, the very first relative he runs into is his cousin, and he is glad he made the trip. Rachel is hot. Genesis describes her as, quote, lovely in form and beautiful. He kisses her on the spot. And Genesis says nothing about any resistance on her part. Then he starts to weep. Tears come as he pours out his story of why he's there. I'm guessing it's edited a little bit. But what woman can turn down a romantic, sentimental man? Jacob and Rachel want to get married. Well, okay, we have Jacob, who's now in this distant land without funds. He works a deal with her dad, saying, I'll work in your business for 7 years, and then I get Rachel. Cool. 7 years go by, Jacob works, and then he and his veiled bride get married. And the Bible suggests that they really had a night of connubial bliss. At least until the dawn's early light revealed that Jacob was married not to Rachel, but to her older, more unattractive sister, Leah. Jacob has in-law issues. All right, skipping ahead, Jacob eventually does marry Rachel, and they have a son, Joseph. And Joseph apparently takes after his mother because Genesis describes him as, quote, handsome and well-built. I refer you to the pictures we have here, in case you're straying back into Old Testament territory. You may have gotten the impression that this is a dysfunctional family, and it is, but what do you expect when a man has had 4 wives and kids with every one of them? The sibling rivalry gets so intense, in fact, that the only reason that this Joseph is not murdered by his stepbrothers is because they found that it's more lucrative to deal in human trafficking. They sell him for a slave. Well, Joseph ends up in Egypt, and he ends up in the house of one Potiphar. Potiphar is the head of Pharaoh's affairs, kind of the president's detail is what we might think about it. And Joseph is one of those wonderkind kind of people. Everything he does turns out perfectly. We don't always like these people, but you know what I mean. Everything turns out right. Well, Potiphar very quickly passes all the household duties, all of his domestic duties, onto Joseph. And so with his household taken care of, Potiphar can concentrate on the thing that is dearest to his heart, food. Well, this apparently leaves Mrs. Potiphar as one desperate housewife, rich, bored, and neglected. She starts looking at the handsome and well-built houseboy that's just shown up. She tries every seduction trick in the book to get him into her bed, including inviting him directly to come into her bed, but nothing works. Joseph evades her at every turn. Well, it has been said of our fair sex that there is no fury in hell greater than the fury we have when we are scorned, and so it was with Mrs. Potiphar. Joseph finds himself charged with sexual harassment and thrown in a dungeon. All of this is in Genesis.